Three, two. What's going on, guys? This is Jeff Kriglock here, and today we're going to be talking exercise, but not just any exercise. We're going to be talking about lots of exercises. So, what I was thinking about when quarantine initially happened and all the gyms shut down was, what am I going to do for training? And I'm sure a lot of you guys were in the same boat. Most of us didn't have gym equipment at that time. I mean, I was fortunate enough that over the years of myself competing in strongman, I've bought a lot of my own gear, and I go to a gym, Coliseum Gym in Columbia, Maryland, that is thoroughly outfitted in not just gear for strongman competitors, but strength sports in general. But a lot of people, went to Facebook Marketplace, went to eBay, Amazon, bunch of other small businesses like Titan, Cerberus, Rogue, you name it. Everybody was looking to get their own gym gear. But the thing is, with contests canceled and gyms not open, people have had to find a way to adapt. So at this point, it comes down to, hey, what am I going to do for a program? And this, put a lot of stress on coaches as well, with their online clients who may or may not have the same access to stuff. So a lot of things had to change. So what I'm going to talk about essentially is how I've been breaking down my exercise selection, which has changed even before quarantine. I mean, I can tell you from the moment I started training strongman, roughly 5 years ago to now, it's vastly different from what I used to do. Now, I'm running more of the conjugate method, and it's benefited me over the years, and I thoroughly enjoy the spice and variety that it provides. Now, what I've been doing since I've been on a 4-day split is I've gotten my events done on a Saturday, primarily at least. I will find a way to get events done throughout the week, whether it be through conditioning or through lighter variations. But in terms of how I am stacking things up right now, the way that I've been training has been Monday through Wednesday. Those are my main, primarily barbell moving days. I will do a deadlift variation on Monday, and that's either going to be heavy one week or a little bit lighter with more volume the next, and then I will switch squat the following week. Then I get into my exercises and I break it down with a primary weakness, a secondary weakness, and a tertiary weakness. So the way that that would look, let's say I'm going to do a max lower workout, for example, and my primary movement of the day is going to be, let's just say, a heavy box squat, for example. My primary accessory, since one of the areas of my box squat that tends to be a little bit messed up is my upper back. And the thing is, you need a lot of upper back in strongman. So when I come out of the hole, I tend to get a little loose when the weight gets a little bit heavier. And the same thing can be said whenever I front squat. And, that translates over to how I'm going to be loading things and carrying things in strongman. So what I decided as my primary accessory to my main mover of the day, which even though it's a max effort movement, it doesn't have to be a PR. Just always realize that it is your maximum effort to strain during the day. And you might be feeling like trash that day, but that's okay. Then you move on to that primary accessory, which is going to target that weakness. I chose snatch grip deadlifts. And the reason why I did that, it puts me in a more disadvantaged position for my pull. I tend to pull very tight. Snatch grip, obviously, I'm going to go out wider, and that's going to work on I have to sink my hips a little bit lower, which means I'm going to activate a lot different muscles as opposed to relying on solely on my lower back, which I really shouldn't be doing anyway. But I tend to rely on my lower back strength in my deadlifts, so this is going to kind of counteract that. Also, what I've noticed with the snatch grip deadlifts is I've had a lot more success activating my lats and my upper back when doing them. So maybe the weight is going to be a little bit less, but that's going to allow me to recover better down the road, even with a little bit of extra volume. Since the weight is going to be lower, my body's going to be able to handle a little bit more. Then I move on to my secondary accessory from that. And at this point, I found a way to hit a squat variation and a deadlift variation. And my primary accessory to the snatch grip deadlift and the box squat is going to be something that I'm going to be targeting that day. So for me, I like to hit a really heavy hamstring variation. So that could be an RDL, that could be a good morning. What I like to do personally is I like to start from the bottoms up if I'm going to do a good morning because it also requires a lot of breathing and bracing through your core. So that's the variation that I like to choose. In regards to the RDL, I don't mind pulling from the floor. I don't mind picking it up from the rack. But as long as you're squeezing the glutes and getting those hamstrings activated, instead of just bending over and using your back, you need to be actually activating your glutes and hamstrings when you're doing this. So then, move on to my secondary accessory. And that could be either some form of a hinge movement, or that could be something to target the quads. So usually what I like to do is some sort of front squat variation. Now, this could be with a goblet squat. This could be kettlebells. This could be barbell stuff. This could be an SSB. Or one thing that I've really liked since I've started in training in quarantine is I've taken my 220 sandbag in front of me and done step-ups or narrow stance squats with a raised heel to target my quads a little bit more. So that's a couple examples of exercises that I would choose there. My third and final accessory is something that's going to target my hamstrings or my quads, depending on what day of the week it is. And this is where I'm going to use band stuff, and I'm going to do it to burn. So, for example, if I'm doing a max effort lower day, like the workout that I just prescribed, I'm going to do banded hamstring curls, probably 2 to 3 sets, as many as I possibly can until it burns. This doesn't necessarily have to be failure, but you should be getting in a lot of solid reps. Also, how I will structure my workout is I like to put some form of core variation in there. Now, it really depends on the day, because if I'm already getting a lot of core activation throughout my main movers, I'm probably not going to do a direct ab exercise. If I do, it's going to be something a little bit lighter, maybe like a banded hamstring curl. But I tend on my speed lower days to knock out some serious ab variations. So let's say I've got a speed lower or a speed upper day. If I'm doing a speed upper, I tend to gravitate more towards trunk twisting for my ab variations, or something where I'm going to do like a side plank. When I do my lower exercises, I tend to not do an ab variation during my max effort lower day, because heavy squats and heavy deadlifts use enough of my core, and I am already worked to the max. So no need to further overtrain that. On my speed lower days, though, I'll do something like, I actually just purchased a glute ham roller from Titan Fitness, and I've been using that essentially as another form of an ab wheel to do ab wheel rollouts. You can do this with bands, TRX bands. I have my own set of Elite FTS blast straps. You can do them with that. So that's sort of a hinging almost ab movement that I like to use there. And then I always include conditioning. Now, this could be of varying degrees. This could be with strongman implements. This could be with body weight stuff. But one thing that I've definitely loved over this time is I've been doing a lot of sled work recently. I did a lot when I was, before the gyms closed up, when I was at Coliseum. But whether it's backwards dragging, whether it's a heavy sled push, whether it's just straight sprinting as fast as you possibly can with the Prowler, those are three things that I've definitely been a huge fan of. Also, I am a huge fan of timed sets and really short rest in between, whether that be Tabata style, where it's 20 seconds of one thing and then 10 seconds off, or 20 seconds of one thing and then 10 seconds of another exercise, and you just continually go and go and go. But I haven't been doing as much Tabata stuff lately, as I bought myself a 100-pound sandbag as well. So I've been doing a lot of sandbag over shoulder. And the way that I've been doing that is I've been rotating it just like I would with weight. So 1 week, I'm going to waive the weight, so that way I'm doing a lighter variation. So I'm going to try and get more reps. So for example, my first week, I might do 10 sets of 2 with a sandbag over shoulder, and then rest for probably about 30 seconds, and then get after it and do it again. Do that for 10 rounds, so roughly 5 minutes of work, and then bam, you're done. Then the next week, I would move into the 220 sandbag. Now, obviously, that's going to require a little bit more rest because I have a little bit more work to do. So that would be do the 2 sandbag over shoulders and then get about a minute of rest. Then increase the reps the next week. So maybe I would move it to 3 or 4 reps with the 100-pound sandbag and then do the same thing with the 220 sandbag my final week, and then I hit a deload. So I waive my conditioning just like I waive my weights. Now, so what I like to do as far as my strongman events is I like to put my pressing event on Saturday. Whether that's going to be a heavy log press, heavy axle press. Jay, who I've been training with, happens to have a Viking press, so sometimes I may use that. Also, could be a circus dumbbell, although I haven't really done that yet because circus dumbbell tends to mess me up. So that's usually how I will start my Saturdays off, with a heavy pressing variation. And that could just be for 1 rep, 2 rep, 3 rep, 5 rep, heaviest of the day, or I can get some volume in. Then I will transition over into some form of a moving event. So that could be farmer's carries. I found a way to simulate the yoke by using an SS yoke bar and doing step-ups with that. So that's one variation of a moving event that I've done. I also like to use a lot of medleys. So whether that be farmer's carries, we have a keg, we have a sandbag, and we have the yoke bar. So if I can find a way to incorporate all that stuff, that gets incorporated in there as well. And then I finish with a loading event, and that's going to be either with the sandbag or the keg, because unfortunately that's all that we have, but I'm grateful that that's what we have. And that'll vary from week to week. That may also turn into a medley, and that could also turn into using multiple implements, using varying degrees of difficulty. One thing that I must say is I have been a huge fan of working with higher heights. Traditionally for guys, the height to lift something over a bar is 52 inches. So I tend to go a little bit higher to work on my triple extension, whether it be with the sandbag or the keg. As far as sets and reps go, the way that I've waived that so far, it truly depends on what variations I've picked. I tend to do sets of 5. That's a good, I would say, gauge of where I'm at. And you can just increase the volume week by week and see how your body adapts to that, or add yourself a different stimulus. Maybe maybe you're one motioning the keg or one motioning the sandbag. Or maybe you're making it higher, or maybe you're backing up a little bit and bringing it up to the bar and then putting it over. So there are always ways to make things a little bit more challenging, especially when you have limited options during this time. So my biggest advice for you guys is look at what you have in your gym. Look at your program, or how you can structure your program, and think about your weaknesses. And during this time, use this time to figure out exercises that will A, bring up those weaknesses the most, B, help you put on a little bit of size, C, help you clean up certain aspects of your lift that may be lacking a little bit. It doesn't necessarily have to be a weakness, but it may be a technical error, something in your setup that you need to change. And I would say the biggest thing most of all is don't try to overdo it. Just because you are not at the gym right now or at a facility, don't try to run yourself into the ground without actually allowing yourself to properly recover. Just because you're excited that you love the gym and you're finally able to work out, or that you've been working out throughout this, there's no reason to be a hero right now, because when everything returns back to normal, whenever that may be, and the contest comes up and you thoroughly beat the living hell out of your body in quarantine, then you're not going to get the desired results you want when it comes contest day.